Branos for the Coach Speak Index. What's up? What's good? Very controversial show today. You saw the title. The fantasy football cabal is not gonna like it. They might put a hit out on me. If you don't see me here next week, you know what happened. I just want to say it's been a real pleasure being your Coach Speak Sherpa. R.I.P. me. But gotta take a stand. Gotta stand up for what's right, what you believe in. You know what else is happening? Patrick Mahomes is a free pick on Underdog Fantasy this week. I think it's fair to say that these weekly free picks are plus EV. And if you're not playing them, you're leaving money on the table. I am anti leaving money on the table. Everyone knows that about me. If you ask my friends, hey, tell me about Greg Branos, they'll say, oh, Greg, man, Greg, he's funny. He's an outside the box thinker. He has kind eyes and the voice of an angel. He is who Renaissance men look up to and model themselves after. And by the way, he absolutely hates leaving money on the table. So sign up on Underdog with promo code CoachSpeak, and you will claim a first-time deposit offer up to $1,000 in bonus cash. Plus, you'll get a second free pick on top of your Patrick Mahomes free pick this week. Very nice. Before we get to the clips, we'll do what we always do now and just go through injuries real quick for this week. Seahawks head coach Mike McDonald said last week that he was very optimistic Kenneth Walker will return in week 4 from his oblique injury. McDonald is a brand new head coach, so we don't have sufficient data yet on the reliability of his injury coach speak. Vikings head coach Kevin O'Connell said he is optimistic about Jordan Addison returning from an ankle injury. O'Connell has a 90% reliability rating on injury coach speak. I expect Jordan Addison to play in week 4. Lions head coach Dan Campbell called Sam Laporta day-to-day. Campbell has a 90% reliability rating on injury coach speak, so I don't expect Sam Laporta to miss more than this week. Saints head coach Dennis Allen said, I anticipate Taysom Hill being ready to go this weekend. Dennis Allen has a 60% reliability rating on injury coach speak, but he is much more reliable when he says that he is anticipating or expecting a player to suit up. So that is good for Taysom Hill. And then Steelers head coach Mike Tomlin said no limitations on Najee Harris, who was spotted with his arm in a sling. Mike Tomlin has a 70% reliability rating on injury coach speak. All right, let's jump into the clips. We have one clip for quarterback today, and this was in the New England post-game press conference. Gerard Mayo, their head coach, was asked whether he will consider a change at quarterback.
You said you were going to evaluate film based on quarterback performance. Is there a possibility you consider a change?
I don't know. Look, we talk about every single week. You know, you're competing for a job. So we'll get together as a coaching staff and see where it goes.
Could he be leaving these doors any more open for Drake May? I mean, it's pretty wild in week after week 3 to be just like openly talking about, yeah, very possible there will be a quarterback change. Drake May has been taking 30% of snaps with first teamers in practice. That's part of his development plan. If you remember Gerard Mayo before the season started, when he said that Jacoby Brissett would be QB1, he said, but that might change at some point in the season. You know, might have to make another decision. Always leaving these doors open. On the other hand, their offensive coordinator, Alex Van Pelt, whenever he speaks about Drake May, I feel like he just absolutely hates him. It's the way that he talks about him, man. It's not good vibes. But Gerard Mayo, the ultimate decision maker here. And then, of course, the owner, Robert Kraft and the Kraft family. Rumors are that they want Drake May to be starting very soon. Spent the 3rd overall pick on him. Jacoby Brissett, okay by bridge quarterback standards. Not a great QB. I understand the concerns with the offensive line. Should be a bit healthier in, 2 or 3 weeks, maybe a couple weeks. Likely going to get pummeled by San Francisco this week. At some point, you just got to play Drake May. He has the tools to escape from that pressure when it's getting to him through this O-line. A lot of people think, no, you gotta wait till the offensive line is fixed. Okay. Well, now he's probably on his 2nd contract by that point. Who knows if whatever offensive lineman they draft in the 1st round next year or the year after and in subsequent rounds will work out for them. It's going to be Drake May time very soon. Okay. Running backs. Let's head to Carolina. This is head coach Dave Canales talking about Chuba Hubbard, talking about winning first downs, and talking about the Pete Carroll run the damn ball football that is in his DNA.
You brought up running the ball. You've brought up running the ball basically since you got here. I'm just curious, with Chuba's ability to churn out yards, he very rarely loses yardage. How effective is that for you when you're figuring out what personnel to use in the running game and what plays to call?
Yeah, it's so important, right? Because the goal, you really want to win first down. Because if you do, and that winning first down to me looks like getting 4 or more yards. Because as soon as you get into your second and mediums, you have your whole call sheet at your disposal, and that's what makes you deadly. That's what allows you to attack, is when you have the opportunity to run it again to get a favorable third, or you have the opportunity to throw a play action or something like that to push the ball down the field. And Chuba's style, the way that he attacks the line of scrimmage, the way he finishes forward, it's perfect for what we're looking for, and he certainly gives me the confidence to continue to call those runs, and the linemen really rally around that, and love to just finish those runs with him.
Dave, you mentioned, and you've said a lot since you've been here about running the way you want to run, you dream of that kind of thing. Where did that come from philosophically? Was there some point earlier in your career when you realized running that way was how you wanted to do football?
In my DNA, it's Pete Carroll football. It was USC Trojans football. It was Seattle Seahawks football. And the highest performances that I've seen, when we won championships and when we were a powerful team, it was that complementary football, being able to run the ball, being able to play great defense, and flying around like crazy on special teams. And the heart of it all is toughness. And how do you show toughness as an offense is you run the football. And our wide receiver group is a big part of that as well. They're tied into it, and you could see examples of them blocking downfield and giving that type of effort. And it's a mentality of a program. It's a mentality of Panthers football that I want to continue to just, keep pounding away at that mentality, to be able to show that toughness as a full group. And you could see it at the end of the game as we finished our runs. There was some violence. Guys got tired, and it was ugly, and it was beautiful. And I just loved being in that mode to finish games.
Dave Canales dropping a keep pounding reference in there. Okay, Dave. I see you, Dave. Chuba Hubbard went loco this week. 21 carries for 114 yards, 5 receptions for 55 yards, and a touchdown. Dave Canales spent the entire offseason talking about, I can't wait to show you how stubborn I can be with the run. Now we have Andy Dalton in at quarterback. This offense immediately looks so much better than it did with Bryce Young. We already knew that the offensive line was playing well through the first couple weeks. It wasn't an offensive line problem. It was a Bryce Young problem. It was a quarterback problem. And, this Andy Dalton's not going to throw for 300 plus yards and 3 touchdowns every game. This will not be the norm, but certainly a more competent offense, which means an offense that's going to score more touchdowns throughout the year. And they have a not great defense. So, probably chasing a good amount of points, but they're going to move the ball. They'll obviously better offense with Andy Dalton in place. And so that obviously good for everyone. Really good for the backfield. And you know who it's really good for is Jonathon Brooks, their rookie running back, who they traded up 10 spots in the second round to take, who, Chuba Hubbard, he's good. He's fine. But he's no Jonathon Brooks, okay? And I don't get the Jonathon Brooks bears out there at this point. I understand during draft season, he's coming off the ACL, and who knows when he's going to return and play. Well, it sounds like he'll probably be returning in week 5 after this week 4 here, and eligible to come off IR. And he's really good. Jonathon Brooks is so good. As good as Chuba Hubbard is, which he's fine. He's a good running back. He's not a top running back in the league. He doesn't have potential to be a top running back in the league. Jonathon Brooks does. And I think a lot of the doubters haven't watched him. Like we can't imagine what we haven't seen. So, okay, I'm just taking my stand, right? I took my stand against this guy earlier, and I got to dig in now. The Jonathon Brooks haters, they're going to be crying. They're going to be crying. I expect the first few games back for the Panthers to kind of ease them in a little bit. But once we hit, week 7, 8, we should get some good Jonathon Brooks. And the Panthers, they're going to pass a lot to the running backs in this Dave Canales system. And that's perfect for Jonathon Brooks. Great pass catcher. Electric running back. He's going to PPR scam his way into all of your hearts. There's nothing you can do about it. Okay? You're going to love Jonathon Brooks. Even if you're a hater now, he will turn you. Bank on it. Next up, Kansas City Chiefs. This is head coach Andy Reid talking about Carson Steele and his performance.
Andy, just one other thing about the running game. Obviously, you had some faith in Carson, but to see him do what he did last week, how reassured are you going forward that, okay, that's more established than perhaps you would have thought?
Yeah, listen, I thought he did a nice job for his first game. I thought he did a real nice job. And he's got to fix a couple things on protection, but he'll take care of that. And the run game, he was hitting the right holes and working the daylight. He was finishing runs, and he corrected the trying to elbow guys going through with his carry hand, and cleaned that up from the week before. So, but he gives you an honest down, and he's gonna run hard. He's a big kid. But he's gonna come at you.
He gives you an honest down. I mean, yeah, he owns a crocodile. Of course he gives you an honest down. Ferocious runner. Angry runner. Looked pretty good. He's quite a load to handle in the run game. 17 carries for 72 yards. Added a 2-yard catch as well. Played 62% of snaps. Seems pretty good. But want to tell you some things that Andy Reid said this week in a presser. I did not tweet this out. We just kept this in the Discord. He was asked about Kareem Hunt, who was not active this past week. Andy Reid said, I thought Kareem Hunt had a good week of practice. Looks like he's in pretty good shape. Now the next step is just getting him in the game. He'll rotate in and we'll see how he does. And he said that Kareem Hunt has a pretty good feeling of what we're doing, playbook-wise. And then Andy Reid said, I don't know how the backfield workload will get split up. We'll just play it by ear. We've got 3 good running backs. Samaje Perine looks pretty decent. And he's in an Andy Reid Chiefs offense, so he's going to look even better there. Opportunity-wise, better opportunities. I don't know. Maybe Carson Steele gets, double-digit carries again. But, Kareem Hunt is going to steal a little bit. It's going to depend on how he looks. Like if he comes in, he looks really good. All right, he's probably getting the majority of work here. Do we think that's going to happen? Probably not. Like, wouldn't he be on another team by now? But it could be, just a messy situation where Kareem Hunt gets 5 carries. Carson Steele gets 8 carries. Samaje Perine gets a handful of carries. And then, third down work. And who gets the goal line work? Is it Kareem Hunt, who's been pretty decent around the goal line? Is it Carson Steele, who is a snowplow powered by nitrous? Or Samaje Perine, who is, stout in his own right. It's probably not going to be him, but yeah, I don't think it's so cut and dry. So a lot of people think, all right, it's Carson Steele. That's it. I'm not sure. When you're not sure, You just got to say that you're not sure. All right? It's ambiguous. I think it's very tough to say this is the way that it's going to go. It's a classic we'll see. Green Bay Packers. This is head coach Matt LaFleur on Emmanuel Wilson.
Speaking of running backs, every time Emmanuel Wilson plays, does he earn himself a little bit more time, based on his performances when he plays?
Yeah, he's done a nice job. He's done a nice job. It's been fun to witness just his growth and development. I think he's really grown up over the course of a year. And just, I always kind of mess with him and stay on him pretty hard, coach him hard. But he's responded, and I'm super proud of just the efforts that he's put in, just in terms of how he prepares on a daily basis. I think Ben does a great job with that room, and it's exciting to see because we've always said it from day one. The guy's got everything in his body to be a really good running back in this league, and it's been cool to witness some of that development. And now he's got to keep going, so he can't rest on that. And I promise you, I won't let him rest on that.
You getting to trust him more in the past?
Absolutely. Yeah, he's done a nice job. He had another great one in this last game where they brought pressure inside and he stepped up and stoned the backer, and that's what we're talking about. Is just all the little things that you can do. It's not just about running 18 or 19 or inside zone or whatever it is. It's every component to playing that position, from pass protection to being able to catch a screen and take it to the house.
All right, quick plug for the Coach Speak Index Discord, because if you've been a member since the preseason now, you've seen them kind of talking about Emmanuel Wilson there. I watch every press conference from every head coach, every offensive coordinator, general manager on a daily basis. It's many, many hours of press conferences per day and per week. And I put all the important notes from the pressers into the Discord, into each team thread. And there's been this kind of steady progression of Emmanuel Wilson talk. And you can see pretty early on, in the preseason, okay, this is a guy who we should maybe have our eyes on here. Talking about how Emmanuel Wilson sticks his foot in the ground and just bam, like he's gone. Very decisive. And we saw that this past week. We saw it in the preseason as well. We saw it in week 1 also, and then saw it more on display this week because he got more opportunities. 12 carries, 50 yards. Had a couple receptions for 35 yards and a score. This is a guy who, about a month or so ago, maybe weeks ago, they were talking about his pass protection and his pass catching. How it still needs some work. It's come a long way, still needs some work, but definitely progressing. Definitely on a good trajectory. And then we saw this past week, okay, it's real. It's not just stuff that we saw in preseason or in practice. Like, it's live game stuff. And then you have Matt LaFleur's backfield philosophy. He said in March, end of March, at the owners' meetings this year, you guys know how I feel philosophically. I think you have to have multiple backs in this league. I don't see it really changing much in terms of how we want to use our backs. He wants to cycle these guys through. He doesn't want Josh Jacobs carrying the ball 30 times every week. He doesn't want Josh Jacobs out there 80% of the time. That's just not how Matt LaFleur does things. Now, it was necessary early in the season when, Emmanuel Wilson hadn't played any this year. in the regular season. And they weren't sure how much they could trust him. And then Marshawn Lloyd goes on IR. This guy that they thought that they were going to be able to count on. A.J. Dillon, they had plans for A.J. Dillon. Sadly enough, they were pretty distraught when he went on IR. So this running back room gets, whittled down to Emmanuel Wilson, who looks really good, and they trust him. It's clear now that they trust him. I think you'll get some real run here while Marshawn Lloyd is on IR. Wilson saw 24% of offensive snaps in week 1, 19% in week 2, 41% in week 3. And they did handle Tennessee all right. Bit of a blowout. But yeah, they don't want Josh Jacobs 80% snaps. They don't want Josh Jacobs being a workhorse every game. They know that he can be. They've talked about that they like he can be a workhorse. But that's not what we do here in Green Bay. You know how I feel philosophically. Multiple backs. Emmanuel Wilson certainly worth a look while Marshawn Lloyd is out. Okay, let's go to a backfield that's not quite as nice. Yep, it's the Chicago Bears. This is head coach Matt Eberflus on why DeAndre Swift has not been effective as a runner.
DeAndre Swift was pretty disappointed in himself on Sunday, just kind of the first 3 weeks. Can you pinpoint what's gone wrong for him and why he hasn't been as effective as a rusher?
Yeah, I think rushing the ball is everybody thing. You know, it's kind of like protection. You know, we got to create the holes for everybody. We got to move people. The scheme's got to be right. For that particular runner. So I just think it's everybody. It's not just him. I know he's very hard on himself, and and I always tell the guys it's good to be hard on yourself, but you also got to be encouraging too. And you got to go out there and perform. You're the performer. So he's done a good job of that. He came in, a couple days ago and was talking to everybody about what he needs to do better. And we just sat down and had a chat with him.
Going back to Courtney's question about Swift, you said you met with him and there are ways he can be better. So as a runner, what are those ways? Is it vision? Is it patience?
It was with the offensive coaches. They met with those guys in terms of fundamentals, technique, the partnership of that, and really it's pressing the hole. Really creating that for the offensive line, not coming out too fast, and really pressing the hole, and then making your cuts off of there, and pressing the line of scrimmage, and that was the main thing.
Feels pretty good to be a DeAndre Swift Bear right now. 37 carries for 68 rushing yards, 1.84 rushing yards per attempt. Just not a good running back. Lacks vision, which is important for a running back. Messy backfield. Roschon Johnson finally got some burn, and that may be because Travis Homer went to injured reserve. He was blocking Roschon for the first couple weeks. Weird. Yeah. Don't like it. Don't like this backfield. Ugly stuff. Get out of my life, Chicago Bears backfield. Just can't talk about them anymore. Enough. Okay, I will say one more thing. This is from the Discord. This is Matt Eberflus on September 23rd. Said Roschon Johnson did a good job of moving the pile forward yesterday. I think we have 3 unique guys in the backfield that have skill sets that we can really utilize as we get going. Ugh. Then he said, I was real happy for Roschon to be able to run and catch the ball effectively in 2-minute and on third downs and all that. Okay, moving on. We will end with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Got a couple clips here. Whew. Let's talk about it. This first clip is Buccaneers head coach Todd Bowles on why Rachaad White outsnapped Bucky Irving 42-18 in week 3.
I'm just curious why Rachaad White outsnapped Bucky Irving so much from 42-18. Does that have anything to do with Bucky and his ability to get down the playbook at this point, or a pass protection thing?
It has nothing to do with anything. I mean, we were behind. We threw it a little bit more. Rashaad's probably a better pass protector at this point, but Bucky's definitely earned more reps.
Bucky's definitely earned more reps. And that was the big headline that everyone grabbed onto out of that. And then everyone's going crazy. Bucky Irving, he's going to take over as a starter. He's getting more reps. RB1. Rachaad White's going to be relegated to the bench. And then yesterday, Todd Bowles was asked whether Bucky Irving has earned the right to be the starting running back like everyone is saying. Surely he's going to say yes, right? Everyone else sees it. Surely Todd Bowles must see that Bucky Irving must be RB1. Let's hear what he said.
What do you think it's going to take to get the running game going? And is Bucky, has he earned the right to be the starting running back now?
No, as far as the running game going, everybody's got to do their job, from coaches to players, receivers, tight ends, offensive line, running backs at the same time. We're going to need Bucky and Rachaad all year. Bucky has some scheme runs that worked, and Rachaad has some didn't. That doesn't mean he's playing better. That means we couldn't get the ball open when we had Rachaad back there. We're going to use them both all year. How they play and how much they play will change every game, so it's going to be no different.
Yeah. Bucky Irving not taking command of this backfield. This just seems like kind of a lose-lose for everybody. I talked about before the season started why I was a Bucky Irving bear, both in best ball and redraft. I just don't see the ceiling, or I didn't see the ceiling on touches. I thought he would very much be a kind of like Jaleel McLaughlin kind of situation, where undersized guy, not good in pass protection. Like, you can't have him out there as a workhorse. You can't have him out there the entire game, but you can get him in there in spots and then use him. So last year, Jaleel McLaughlin, pretty low offensive snap percentage, but when he was in there, he got the ball in the majority of the time. It was something like 62% of the time when he was in the game. He saw an opportunity. And that's kind of what's happening with Bucky Irving this year is, he's getting onto the field, not nearly as much as Rachaad White. But when he's getting on the field, they're giving him opportunities a lot of the time. It's well over 50%. I think it I should have written it down, but it was somewhere like 58% of the time. It wasn't as high as McLaughlin last year, but, getting up to that range. And Liam Cohen is using him in a pretty smart manner, where they can hide that pass protection liability. And they've been rolling out these 2 running back packages. And Liam Cohen talked about it in a press conference on September 12th. Said, we'd like to roll out some more of the packages where Rachaad White and Bucky Irving are on the field at the same time, but the defenses we're playing will dictate that. And then said that the athleticism of our offensive linemen allows us to be diverse, runs, screens, jet sweeps, getting players in space. It allows for more creativity where you don't feel handcuffed by your personnel. And we saw them in week 3 using Rachaad White and Bucky Irving in the backfield at the same time. We saw that, was it like a jet sweep that they used Bucky Irving on? You know, exactly what Liam Cohen's talking about here a couple weeks ago. And we see the offensive linemen, you know, getting out well down the field to create lanes for Bucky Irving. Very good with the ball in his hands. Very explosive runner. But you need more things in your bag. And a big thing to have in your bag, if you want to be on the field as a workhorse, is pass protection. And he does not have that. As of right now, he does not have that. I know there was a thread of videos on Bucky Irving's, I think, like 5 pass protection snaps this year that he was graded well on. They are not impressive at all. And one of them is he runs downfield like 5 yards and runs into a linebacker. And apparently that is a pass pro rep. Okay. I don't think so. The linebacker was not coming into the backfield. He was not near the line of scrimmage. He was, you know, a good 5 yards downfield from the line of scrimmage. Yeah, that's not pass pro. That's just a running back running a route and running into somebody. Came into the league in the 11th percentile when it comes to pass protection grades in the 2024 running back draft class. He's not taking Rachaad White off the field. They love Rachaad White. Todd Bowles wants running backs who can run, who can catch, and who can pass protect. And he says the pass protection part like 3 times. For every 1 time he says, you know, guys got to run and got to catch. He says pass protection, pass protection, pass protection. It's a big deal to him. Bucky Irving is, I absolutely give him this. He is a willing pass blocker, for sure. He's willing to throw it up in there. And that's very important, that mentality. Because, yeah, you're like making that initial contact, right? Being the instigator and like really giving it your all. Like you still might get bowled over, but you'll impede their progress more than if you're just kind of like a hesitant, like, oh no, this guy outweighs me by quite a bit. You know, let me make a reactionary last ditch effort to protect my quarterback. No, he goes hard. He does, but his technique it's not good. And when he gets, you know, God forbid, like a TJ Watt or somebody come in there and he tries to stand them up, or it'll be bad. It'll be bad. But good news, Liam Cohen finding a workaround for that pass protection. But I still think we're seeing Bucky Irving capped with, how many times he's likely to touch the ball. And then game script is so important as well. We see they were getting blown out in this game, and Bucky Irving outsnapped 42-18. Now, they're not going to get blown out in every game. It's a pretty decent team. If you're playing redraft and you have Bucky Irving in your lineup, that's a nightmare if they get down a couple touchdowns. And then you have the goal line stuff. Rachaad White has been getting their opportunities when they get close to the end zone. So how does Bucky Irving hit your lineup then? Or how does he give you enough in your flex? Because we need double digits here. We need some good scores. If he's only getting 9, 10, 11 touches, that's tough. That's tough sledding there. I think it's just bad for everyone in this backfield. And then Rachaad White's going to keep PPR scamming. He's going to get his 4 or 5 receptions per game like they like to do. Like to do their little screens, get him out near the sideline. I mean, I feel like we see that once or twice every Tampa Bay game is Rachaad White getting these little passes out on the sideline and, running 20 yards. Once he gets into that second year, pretty decent. As a runner, that does running backs. Okie doke. Can we talk wide receivers? Will the government allow it? Let's do it. Kansas City Chiefs head coach Andy Reid on Rashee Rice and the target distribution there in Kansas City, where Travis Kelce not seeing much on-field action.
Coach, I wonder if you could just talk a little bit more about what you saw from Rashee Rice getting so many targets. I know you throw to whoever's open, but is it ideal to have him getting that many targets, or would you like to spread around a little bit more?
Well, I mentioned to you, how Rashee's game goes is kind of how Kelce's goes. So what they're doing is they're working hard at taking Kelce out of the picture, and Kelce is going, hey, listen, if they're going to do that, then Rashee's going to get a lot of catches. He knows that, and but somewhere that levels off, and that like it did the second half, and Kelce's catch numbers went up there. So, but Rashee's he's a force in there. I mean, he's a good football player, and he's tough when he has the ball in his hands. So I'm sure he'll be getting a lot more attention as we go.
Through 3 games, Rashee Rice has 24 receptions for 288 yards and 2 touchdowns. Travis Kelce, no touchdowns, 8 receptions, 69 yards. Not nice. 69, yikes. Will it stay at this same pace, this same target percentage throughout the season? Very, very, very unlikely. But also very clear, the younger Rashee Rice is the guy. He's the one that's going to be used the most in this intermediate game. You can say, yeah, Kelce's drawing all this coverage, which I'm sure he is. But Rashee Rice is crushing it, man. It's not like teams aren't covering Rashee Rice, aren't focusing on Rashee Rice. This guy who's just going nuclear. They are focused on him. They're very aware of Rashee Rice. Looking very good for him this season, and I mean, that's a guy that was going fairly late. Underdog, he was in I think he got up to like the 80s ADP. Wild. As long as, I mean, they're just going to keep killing teams with Rashee Rice until they get like 2-3 guys on him, until teams stop playing cover 2 against them and say, okay, they're killing us with 1,000 paper cuts with Rashee Rice. Let's focus on this intermediate game. These layups that we keep giving them. Cincinnati Bengals head coach Zach Taylor talking about Andre Yosevach.
What makes Andre such an effective player in the red zone?
He's a tough guy. I'm trying to refresh myself on the touchdowns he had, I guess, against Kansas City. Did he score last game?
Yes, fourth down.
Oh yeah, fourth down. Yeah. He can play with really strong hands, and the separation he created on a lot of those touchdowns against Kansas City. Great understanding of how he's going to get the ball and where he's going to get the ball, and being ready for that. And so again, I see a player that's just his arrow continues to go up, and he's obviously, I don't think he's ever lacked confidence, but he's got to be gaining more confidence with these plays that he's made in critical situations. And I thought he did a great job on the sail route, in the 2-minute drive at the end of the game, getting his feet in, doing a great job separating and really controlling the ball and getting 2 feet in. And so you just see some things where he continues to gain confidence, and we've got a lot of confidence in him, and he'll continue to get more. It's hard to say get him more opportunities. We have so many great players. There's a lot of guys you want to get opportunity for, but when it comes your way, you got to be ready to make it, and I think he's done an excellent job of that.
They talked about Yosevach a lot this offseason. Talked about him being the wide receiver 3. Talked about him being in the slot. Averaging nearly 6 targets per game through the first 3 weeks. Has 3 touchdowns, 85 yards receiving. It's working out. It's working out for Andre Yosevach drafters. And 100% of offensive snaps in week 1, 77% in week 2, 77% in week 3. He's playing. He's getting opportunities. And that's what we want. And Jermaine Burton remains buried. Tell you what we don't want is this situation in Pittsburgh. Here is head coach Mike Tomlin talking about Roman Wilson.
Mike, what does Roman Wilson have to show in order to get a helmet on the knees?
He just got to keep working. It is very difficult to get on a moving train. All you got to do is look at Dean Lowry, for example. There's a veteran guy that missed a substantial amount of training camp, and it was the 3rd game before he got a hat, although he's been healthy for 3 weeks. And so that gets multiplied when you're talking about a guy that has no NFL experience like Roman. And so my advice to Roman is to keep working and take that opportunity when that door is left ajar and to be ready when it is.
Roman Wilson missed a big chunk of training camp with an ankle injury, was just cleared this past week, but he was a healthy and active. Very difficult to get on a moving train. Even when that moving train is merely full of guys like Van Jefferson and Calvin Austin. Maybe slow the train down real quick and let this guy hop on. Los Angeles Chargers head coach Jim Harbaugh on the resurgence of Quentin Johnston.
Coach, can you talk about Quentin Johnston's productivity so far this season?
Yeah, it's been really good. I mean, it's one of my favorite things to talk about, and just to watch his progress. Now, watching number one, if it's practice tape, it's game tape. I mean, I really like watching him. I look for number one. What's he doing on this play? How's he doing it? It's full speed all the time. It's full speed in practice, full speed in games. It's even full speed in walkthroughs. And hey, Quentin, it's a walkthrough, And Darius Davis told me, Coach, he's he only knows one speed, full speed. And just love that. Love that about Q. Love the energy that he brings. You can see all parts of his game are ascending.
What's the biggest area of improvement that you've seen so far from training camp to now?
In all areas. I mean, really in every area. Doing it for a second year. I mean the way he's picked up the scheme, his understanding and knowledge of the game, of coverages, of the nuances, but the strength. He's put in a tremendous amount of work. The detail on his route running, maybe that's top of the list. The catching has been outstanding. Getting release has really improved. Creating separation, gaining separation has improved, and then extending that separation has improved. In all areas, he's an ascending player.
Yeah, Jim Harbaugh loves some Quentin Johnston. Heard him throughout the offseason. And also offensive coordinator Greg Roman, general manager Joe Ortiz, talking about, hey, this is a good player. We can find roles for him. There are things that we can do with him that weren't being done last year. And a lot of people laughed it off. And sure, I was very skeptical because he looked so awful last year. He was so bad. But he was also miscast. Now, that doesn't mean that, it's a complete reset, but we have seen kind of a reset here. Haven't really seen, we haven't seen the types of drops we saw last season and that we heard about in training camp. Those clips that went viral, Quentin Johnston dropping another pass. Not a crazy amount of targets in his first 3 games, just 13. But he's a starter. He is out there a lot. Week 1, 67% of offensive snaps. Week 2, 70%. Week 3, 80%. They're using him. They are targeting him. Probably going to be pretty frustrating for redraft. If you're, first of all, if you're needing to start Quentin Johnston in redraft, that's frustrating. But I understand there are a lot of injuries. Bye weeks are coming up. Pretty cool, though. Pretty cool to see QJ enjoying some success here. And it's very, very clear that this coaching staff really likes this guy. Jim Harbaugh is looking for number 1 in practice. Hey, where's QJ? Where's Q? There he is. Let me watch him for 20 minutes because I love watching him. By the way, a very Jim Harbaugh thing is just watching people. He had a quote when he was head coach of the Niners. I was reading a press conference transcript when I was building his profile this past offseason, and he said that he could watch, or that he has watched, people direct traffic for just an hour. Just watching someone direct traffic. I tweeted that out, and one of Jim Harbaugh's former players at, I think it was San Diego State. some college. He coached at before Stanford, but one of his players replied to me, said, "Yes, this is absolutely true. This is Jim Harbaugh." The guy replied with an anecdote of how one day they were eating, like it was a team meal in the like cafeteria or whatever. And he said Jim Harbaugh just stared at the lunch person who was, dishing out on plates. Just stared at her for a good 20 minutes, just watching her work. What a guy. What a unique gem of a human being. All right, that is wide receivers. Let us speak of tight ends. And we will begin with Detroit offensive coordinator Ben Johnson. This was after week 2, before week 3. And he was asked about Sam Laporta's lack of production.
With Sam, people are looking at the lack of production, but how much of that is teams, opponents still doubting J-Mo, and that being the right looks for Jared in these early season games?
Yeah. Last week it was St. Brown. This week it's Laporta. Next week it's going to be somebody else. That's just the nature of the beast. That's what we got right now. We got a lot of weapons, and it's hard to guarantee someone 5 to 8 targets every single game. That's not how it works. I think back to last year, Josh Reynolds was on the cusp of getting his incentives in the contract, and we were trying to force the ball to him, and the coverage just didn't dictate that. So it's the same message it's always been. The guys that are active on game day, we have plays in for all of them, where they're primary receivers, all of them. And when we call that number, it really depends on what defense we get aligned with. And Jared's he's not worrying about getting a certain guy the ball. He's worrying about executing that particular play.
The right character guys that can absorb that, mantra that the ball might not always be coming to them. Is the whole unit, is that?
It's unique. It's unique with our group. We have a bunch of unselfish guys that they play hard for each other. Having been a former receiver coach, I am very conscious of those guys wanting to be involved, all right? But at the same time, as a staff, if we do this thing right, it's exactly – St. Brown has an off game, all right? Laporta has an off game. Maybe J-Mo, we just cycle that around. We cycle it, and so we just don't want a drought for an extended period of time with anybody.
Laporta ended up leaving week 3's game with an ankle injury. But this is a bit of a problem for Sam Laporta. And I think a big part of this is Jameson Williams. It's the offense this year. It's not just Sam Laporta and Amon-Ra St. Brown, eating in the middle of the field. Now they have Jameson Williams dragging routes across the middle as well, putting that speed to use. That yak. We love the yak. So he's getting cut out of the pie a little bit here in Detroit. He'll still have big weeks, but I don't think it's going to be the kind of production that we saw last year. And Dan Campbell talked about that this offseason. You might have seen that clip where he says, what if some of Sam Laporta's targets from last year go to J-Mo? Or St. Brown, or Gibbs, or Brock Wright. And they've been going to J-Mo. So tough if you spent an early pick on them. Weird year for tight ends. Washington Commanders. This was before week 3. This is offensive coordinator Cliff Kingsbury on their tight end room.
Hey there, Coach. From week 1 to week 2, what have you seen out of the tight end group so far?
It's been good. I really like the group. They complement each other well with Bates being a heavy-handed inline Y that can do some things in the pass game to be really physical at the point of attack. You have Ben who can kind of do it all, young guy still figuring it out, dynamic player in space. And then Zach is the savvy veteran in the pass game that, continues to get open, continues to present to a young quarterback. So they've complemented each other well. I think Ben's the one who's going to continue to really come on, and we're going to expand his role as the season goes on and the game slows down for him.
Yeah, Zach Ertz, who was going undrafted quite a bit in the last round of best ball drafts. He's with Cliff Kingsbury again. He is blocking a promising young tight end again. Zach Ertz, offensive snap percentage through the first 3 weeks, 71, 65, 64%. He's their tight end one. He's got 12 grabs for 128 yards. He's being productive. Somewhat productive. A lot of tight ends aren't. If you're in a PPR league, Zach Ertz is outscoring a lot of guys at tight end. And this past week, played 64% of snaps. John Bates, who was mentioned there by Cliff Kingsbury, played 56%. And Ben Sennett played 44% of snaps. So maybe we'll see Sennett in his rookie year start to get some more work as the year goes on. Good young player. Good in so many facets of the game. And, should note, week 1, 22% of offensive snaps, 18% of offensive snaps in week 2. And then after these comments from Cliff Kingsbury, 44% in week 3. So maybe we see Ben Sennett come on later in the year. But Zach Ertz is there, so it might not happen. Atlanta Falcons, this is offensive coordinator Zach Robinson on Kyle Pitts only having 12 targets through 3 games.
Speaking of Kyle, through 3 games, he only has 11 targets so far, which is 4th on the team. Is that a concern for you, or do you just see that as a natural consequence of just the way the game is?
Yeah, I think, it's hard to say. Coverage can dictate so many different things of where the football goes. Of course, you're wanting to get the ball in his hands. I thought that was a huge play the other night that obviously got us going when he caught that and got down to the 1 there before we scored. So he'll continue to get the ball in the flow of the offense as it goes. I know there were some opportunities, obviously, where he could have had more the other night too. So he's doing a great job. He played really fast the other night. I think the more that he can be detail-oriented, play as fast as he did, the ball's naturally just going to find him.
Guys, what if Kyle Pitts just isn't that good? I think he has a separation score of 0 this year. I mean, maybe this is a clip that ends up resurfacing years down the road, but doesn't Kyle Pitts seem to, we know he's this tweener, he's this hybrid receiver, right? This tight end receiver, but he's like a bad tweener, the worst of a tight end with the worst of a wide receiver. Can't block. Not a good blocker. and he's a tight end, it'd be nice if your tight end could block. Okay, but not all tight ends are blocking tight ends. You have some pass catching tight ends. Okay, sure. So he's basically a receiver then. Okay. Well, if he's a receiver, he should look better. He should look as good as a receiver. If that's what he is. If he is a receiver, he should look as good as a receiver. Oh, he doesn't because he's a tight end. Okay. So he can probably block a little bit then, do some tight end things. Oh, he can't? Okay. So he's just like a receiver playing tight end. Cool. We will end with the Baltimore Ravens. Panic time. Panic on the streets of London. Panic on the streets of Birmingham. If, you're living in those places and you play fantasy football and you have Mark Andrews as your tight end, here is Coach John Harbaugh talking about Mark Andrews.
Andrews played many fewer snaps than he would in maybe a typical week. Was that purely a matter of the style that you guys ended up playing?
Yeah, I mean, you had a lot of big groups on there, kind of to your point about the personnel groups and stuff like that. I think guys will play different amounts, different games, with our different guys that we have. I think didn't I bring this up a week or two ago? We'd go one way and then someone wouldn't play, and then that question would be, why didn't that guy play? I think that's probably going to be something it'd be every week. There'll always be, somebody didn't get the ball thrown to him or didn't get many touches or wasn't on the field as much. It's probably going to be a part of the game plan each week. And a lot of it's how the game goes too, But Mark did what he was asked to do in the game, and it just turned out that way. It wasn't like he wasn't in the pass routes. He could have been throwing the ball. It just didn't come his way. But the blocks came his way. He was out there blocking those guys, and he did a great job.
Oof. John Harbaugh had mentioned earlier in this press conference that to be able to run the ball when you want to and do it out of these big groups that protect the edges, that's something that's in our DNA a little bit. We definitely want to live in that world if we can, is what Harbaugh said. Mark Andrews ran 4 routes in week 3. Now, they only had, I think, 17 dropbacks, but still, that's bad. It's so bad. And now Zay Flowers in Baltimore is getting all that work in the intermediate area. This is a Rashee Rice, Travis Kelce situation. They don't need to throw to Mark Andrews anymore because they're throwing to Zay Flowers. He's doing that same stuff. Bad times if you have Mark Andrews as your tight end. I'm sorry, guys. I'm sorry that you're going through that. If you're going through that. Before we end the show, I'm going to give you some little gems from the Discord that I did not tweet out. This was exclusive to the Discord, and now it's exclusive to the Discord and the podcast. Not going to do this every week, I don't think. But just want to give you a little taste of what you're missing. If you're not in there, we have hundreds of people now in the Discord. It's blowing up because it's a huge advantage to be in there. I am watching, like I mentioned earlier, every single press conference. And I'm putting all the important notes from those pressers into these team threads. And you get notifications. Boom. New Denver Broncos press conference. Sean Payton talking about Tyler Badie. Ooh. Tasty morsel of information. I could use that. Yeah. If you're not in there and your league mates are in there, they're whooping your ass. Don't let that happen. Don't let that happen. All right, here we go. I will go through these Panthers head coach Dave Canales said he is not naming a starter right now to take Adam Thielen's place. This is a great opportunity for Xavier Leggett, Jonathan Mingo, David Moore, Jalen Coker, he said. Let's see who can add a spark to this pass game as we continue to develop together. Bears head coach Matt Eberflus said that Keenan Allen, who is dealing with a heel injury, he was limited in practice. He said we'll see where it progresses as we go. We hope the heel isn't something we'll have to monitor all season. Don't love hearing that. Eberflus also said that Caleb Williams' processing speed isn't all the way there after 3 games, but it is getting better. Cleveland Browns head coach Kevin Stefanski was asked whether he expects Nick Chubb to return next week when he's eligible to come off of injured reserve. Stefanski said, we'll see when we get to next week. He's doing well. Dallas Cowboys head coach Mike McCarthy says we need more rushing attempts. Denver Broncos head coach Sean Payton said Tyler Beatty has been real decisive. He's had some big runs for us. He's smart. He knows the system. He's good in the passing game. He brings a lot. And then asked about the role that Bidet will play now that he's on the 53-man roster, Sean Payton said, we'll see. We'll kind of continue to mix up the roles based on what we're doing. Jacksonville Jaguars head coach Doug Peterson says we have to get Parker Washington in the game more. And then finally, New Orleans Saints head coach Dennis Allen said that Juwan Johnson is a guy we'd like to get more involved. Dennis Allen has an 80% reliability rating on usage and workload coach speak. All right, that does it. Finito. That's it. Check us out on Twitter at Coach Speak Index. And like I mentioned, we have the Discord. I mean, just ridiculous amounts of important information in there. If you're only following the Twitter, then you're getting 5%, maybe 10%. Yeah. That's it. Like, subscribe. Yeah, do that. If you want to, if you don't want to, if you just want to stay on the outside listening in, like some shadowy CIA figure camped out in a surveillance van that's branded as a topless maid service. All right, fine. That's your prerogative, my friend. But I'm inviting you in to join us. We'd love to have you. Sarah, take us out. Y'all have a good one.